Hey, what's going on, Game Leapers? This is Iggs, and in today's upload, we're going to be discussing the 10 most broken champions for the upcoming patch 12.23, which will get released probably tomorrow, depending on where you are in the world. So yes, to know the champions who you should be playing next patch to give you the best chance of winning, make sure you stick around, of course, for the whole video. And guys, if you want to actually improve at League of Legends, because these picks, they might like ELO inflate you. You're not really going to get that much respect from anybody else. But if you do want that respect, if you do actually want to improve as a player, doesn't even matter what champion you pick because you just know how to play the role you're in, then make sure you check out the resources on our website, gameleap.com. Linked in the description and comment section. Our Challenger players and coaches upload Challenger videos for every single one of our subscribers on a daily basis. The amount of content there, our library of it, it is nuts. It is so helpful, and you will 100% learn and improve. So check out those links down below. Now let's get into the countdown. Now we're just going to go through the roles here. So what we're going to do is start in the top lane, and there are two champions here who I think are going to be really broken for 12.23. Now the first of these is Fiora. Now for Fiora at the moment, one of the big reasons why she's so strong is because you can run Grass the Undying, and this keystone makes it incredibly hard to trade with you during the laning phase, because it's very easy just to proc grass off your Q, off your lunge, and because you're very difficult to actually stick to because of your mobility and of course your riposte, your parry, makes it hard, right, to someone actually jump into you. Grass of the Undying just makes you so powerful. On top of this, you're a champion who can build Divine Sundra, and because of all the HP in the game at the moment, you shred through everyone. Also, if we think about Fiora's passive with your vitals, because they're dealing more damage based on the actual HP the enemy champion has, you love it when there is HP in the game. Also, Fiora doesn't really have many hard counters. I mean, unless you're playing a ranged champion like maybe Kennen, maybe Quinn, something like this, they can do very well, but even still, Fiora still has winning chances. But you might be like, Ravenous Hydra is getting nerfed in 12.23, and you would be right. So in terms of the cleave passive, the damage is going down for both melee champions and ranged champions, and also the Omnivamp you get, the extra 4% from the carnivorous stacking, this is gone as well. So you'll only be getting a flat 10% once you buy the item. But is this really like a bad thing? Of course not, right? The item is still going to be OP and built by pretty much everyone who's building it at the moment. So Fiora is the first top laner to consider. And the other top laner, it isn't actually Darius, which is kind of surprising because I swear I feel like I've talked about him for the last like 6 months, but this is Shen. Now the big reason why Shen is here is because, well, statistically speaking, he is actually one of, if not the strongest top laners in terms of win rate and how much he's played, right? Boasting around like a 53% win rate. That's in every single elo. But next patch, Shen will be even better because of the Sunfire Aegis buff. So for Sunfire Aegis, because it's going to be 100 gold cheaper and you're getting more HP from the item, this makes your second item spike, so you want to be going hard still, then you're getting Sunfire, even better, right? And this will come around quicker, like I said, because it is cheaper. So this for Shen is huge. Also, the HP from Heartsteel is so useful for you, especially for your Stand United, your ultimate. So Shen, because of its insane win rates across the board and because of the buff Sunfire Aegis in 12.23, honestly, is the #1 top laner for you guys to pick in 12.23. Now moving into the jungle here, we actually have 3 champions to discuss, and the first of these is Bel'Veth. Now I don't really want to do too much discussing here because this champion, well, she is just a disgusting champion. Let's be real. Like her kit, it doesn't even matter how much Riot nerf this champion, she's still gonna be giga broken. And they did try to nerf her towards the end of season 12, and guess what? She's still broken and incredibly obnoxious to play against. The damage reduction in her E is probably really the big thing, but also in 12.23 and in this pre-season, Bel'Veth can abuse a lot of builds, right? So even if you're going something like Bork into Heartsteel, into Titanic Hydra, because the HP from Heartsteel translates into Titanic Hydra's passive, so the bonus HP you get from Heartsteel, that goes into bonus AD. And because you already have Bork there, you already have like all the damage you ever need, right? But now you have unlimited tankiness and even more damage because of Titanic's passive. You might even see builds out there with Jackshow, which has become a really popular item on bruisers and fighters because of the amount of tankiness it gives you in prolonged fights, and Bel'Veth being a Conqueror champion, the longer fights go, the more you're going to relish them. And Bel'Veth is also probably enjoying the kind of jungle meta at the moment, I guess, where people are just like happily full clearing against one another. I don't actually think it's really good jungling, and it doesn't have to be that way, but that's how most people are just seeing the jungle. So Bel'Veth, being a champion who likes to full clear, get to level 4, this benefits her as well. Now one champion who actually has more power than Bel'Veth, maybe at level 2, level 3, you might be able to do a little bit more, this is Wukong, and kind of the same for Fiora, right? So we talked about Fiora, how you've got Divine Sundra. amazing against tanky champions, right? Wukong exactly the same thing. You've also got Conqueror, so the stacking, the longer fights go, which is actually what's happening at the moment, the more unkillable you become. Pair both of these things with Ravenous Hydra, that's a deadly combination, an unkillable combination, and even though Ravenous Hydra is getting nerfed, I understand it, but it's still an OP item, and it still will be next patch because the Cleave passive and the actual Omnivan from the passive getting nerfed, it's not really going to mean that much. And Wukong, just like these other champions, is an S+ tier champion easily with at least a 52% win rate in pretty much every single elo, so if you want an attack damage jungler who's got amazing engage, difficult to kill, Wukong is the champion to pick. But let's just say, guys, you need some AP in your team composition. Well, the best AP jungler at the moment, statistically speaking, this is Evelynn. So in Platinum and above, for a jungler to boast over a 53% win rate, that is kind of a good sign that a champion is broken. And because in 1223, Eve is not getting any nerfs whatsoever, or indirectly nerfed, this is just great news, and there's no reason for this win rate to go below 53% next patch as well. Now, why is Evelynn so good? Well, if we think about it, the buffs not so long ago to Evelynn really helped her out in terms of her power, of course, but also the way the jungle is now. Kind of like how I mentioned for Bel'Veth, right? Lots of people are just full clearing, they're happy handshaking. Again, I don't really think it's good jungling, but that's just the way it is. Most people are going to let you hit level 4 free of charge. And because of the Krugs change, where there's only little Krugs now, there's no medium Krugs apart from the one at spawn, this helps you get through the jungle quicker. And this allows you to get to level 6, this allows you to get your big item spots quicker, and that's one of the big reasons why Evelynn is just popping off at the moment. So if you do need some magic damage in the jungle, guys, Evelynn is the #1 champion to pick. Now, heading into the mid lane here, the first of these mid laners is a champion that Evelynn would really love to play with, because as Evelynn, guys, you have to understand, if you're playing like one of these scaling kind of AFK farming junglers, you really want some active lanes, because if your lanes are active, it's going to be more difficult for the enemy mid laner and champions to actually pressure you in the jungle, right? So if you have a mid laner like Aurelia, who has really good early game power and is a very strong laner, Evelynn can actually breathe freely. But yeah, speaking of Aurelia, just independent of whatever the jungler is, Aurelia is a very strong champion. Now, kind of how I mentioned for Bel'Veth, right? Because these bruisers and fighters don't actually have to go like bruiser and fighter items, Aurelia is another one who can make use of Jack-Show. Now, this item, if you go something like, let's say, Ravenous Hydra into Jack-Show, or maybe you go Ravenous Hydra Bork into Jack-Show, something like this combination or these combinations are legit insane and so busted. It makes Aurelia one of those champions who doesn't even have to land any of her abilities. She can just auto-attack you and you're probably going to lose and die. That's how busted this build is. And if we think about kind of the meta at the moment, with Conqueror champions being so strong with Jack-Show and these other items, Aurelia is just one of them. That's the reason she is on this countdown. So if you want to surprise and counterpick the enemy mid laner, Aurelia is an unreal champion to pick. Now, the other mid laner here, I was kind of close to putting Syndra on this countdown because, you know, I do like having a little bit of variety in terms of damage mix, but this is another attack damage champion, guys. So the other mid laner, if you don't want to play Aurelia, it has to be the Master of Shadows, Zed, because it's impossible for me not to put him on here, right? Like, if we're talking about win rate, if we're talking just even like feel in a game, like if you're playing against a Zed in the mid lane, like when he gets his Ravenous Hydra, it just feels so difficult, right? Like, he's always going to outshove you, and because he's a Zed, it's going to be very difficult to move around the map and in fog, right? You're probably just going to have to sit back on your tower and Zed gets free roam around the map. And good Zed players as well are now going to max their W second. So if you're maxing your Q first, make sure you max your Living Shadow after this. Leave 1 point in your Shadow / your E. You do not need to actually put points in this because of the buff recently, right? Where they decrease the actual energy cost for using your Shadow /. This makes it so much more viable to max your W to get that cooldown lower. So useful for the mid to late game team fights that come around. So Zed with a Ravenous Hydra rush, because his win rate is at least like 52%, so Zed and Aurelia are the mid laners. Now, moving down to the bot lane, and guys, if you want these videos to continue, please let us know by leaving a like down below. And yes, the best AD carry, and the first of the two we have here, this is Caitlyn. Now, I mentioned in our 3 most broken champions video that Caitlyn is the undisputed queen, or, well, not king, but she is the queen of the bot lane at the moment. Reason being is because, well, she's just uncontestable, right? The range, the lethal tempo, and no one else is really like strong enough, if we think about it, from an AD carry perspective to deal with her. Like, there's no other standout AE carry. Like, if we think about top lane, you have Fiora. In the jungle, the champions we mentioned. In the mid lane, the champions we mentioned. But in the bot lane, who's a really broken AD carry who can compete with Kate? There's really no one. Also, the passive buff towards the end of season 12 really helped because you'll be using your passive a lot, right? And just remember, guys, if you're auto-attacking things from brushes, this will count as 2 stacks to your headshot. So this is really useful. All this pressure that you have during the laning phase, please, by the way, just make sure you get priority at level 1. Do not leash your jungler if you don't have to. This will just lead to elite, literally. And at that point, Caitlyn just becomes so oppressive. So yes, Caitlyn is the number 1 AD carry, guys. But maybe the other AD carry who might be able to, and I say might, be able to compete with Caitlyn, this is Lucian. But honestly, probably only if you have a Nami next to you. This combination when Nami is running Airy actually has kill potential, kill threat on any bot lane. It doesn't matter if you're against a Caitlyn Lux, a Caitlyn Karma, Lucian and Nami can be deadly if you make a mistake as Caitlyn. But that's really the thing here, like you're just hoping she makes a mistake. But still, if you were to ban Caitlyn, for example, so let's just say you're an AD carry, you're in Champ Select, and you want to get rid of Caitlyn because you don't want to deal with her, then picking Lucian easily the best of the rest. Even if you don't have a Nami next to you, if you're playing like First Strike Lucian, maybe even PTA Lucian, doesn't really matter, to be honest, you're very strong. And because Lucian's scaling, because of those buffs way back in early season 12 to your attack damage per level, right? And because of the extra damage you have in your Vigilance passive, this allows Lucian to scale better than he ever has. So if you actually do get a lead in the early game, well, it's 100% going to result in something, and something good, because of that extra scaling you have. So Lucian is the other AD carry here, and do consider, guys, going Lucidity Boots instead of Berserker's Greaves, because this, with the cooldown, it allows you to get more cooldowns off, obviously, so more abilities, and therefore you can use your passive more. So Lucian is the other AD carry to consider picking, and honestly you should be picking for 1223. Now the final champion, guys, on this countdown, and again, any questions, any comments about the champions in this, let us know in the comment section. And the final champion, the only support here that, well, to be honest, is just like outright OP in every single elo, this is Renata. So Renata is kind of like the Bel'Veth of supports, I think, anyway, because innately speaking, right, it doesn't matter again what Ryan nerf about Renata, it's just that her abilities are so busted. Like, how can you have a basic ability which is pretty much a Zillion ultimate? Like, all you have to do is press W, there's nothing like mechanical about it, and your AD carry, or your jungler, or your top laner, who's really fed, right? So let's say a bruiser like maybe Bel'Veth in the jungle. You bail out her, she's unkillable. She will literally get a pentakill just because you press W. Also, you have your ultimate, which is amazing in every single elo, but especially in lower elos, because people will group up, and they're probably not even aware that you're ulting. So this can just like solo win team fights. The champion might not be as OP as she was, but she is still easily OP enough. So those were the 10 most broken champions, guys, for next patch in 1223. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next preseason 13 upload. And until then, this has been a... Peace.